Man, I don't know about you, but this topic is one of the more difficult ones to talk about. Now, normally, when it comes to New Jersey Devils stuff, I love it. I love the Devils. I think they are doing a really good job. I like the young guys they have on their team. Holtz is fantastic. They got Tatar, of all people. I like Nikita Gusev. Obviously, you have the Hughes bros, so that's really cool to watch. I like New Jersey, and I've been saying that in videos for quite a while now. But this video right here is exploring, let's just say, the... Oh man, I really don't want to refer to this player like this, but some of the stuff that you've kind of shoved under the rug that you don't really want to talk about anymore. Today we're talking about PK Subban, and that's no disrespect to PK Subban in the way that I described the situation right there. It's just mostly a combination of his contract, which everybody can agree is overpaid, and the player himself, who indeed has one more year on that contract, meaning that his time in New Jersey is likely coming to an end, and plus, you take a look at the New Jersey Devils and their lineup projections. PK Subban isn't really supposed to be that number one, I don't know, like Norris winning defenseman like he was before. You have guys like Severson and Dougie Hamilton and Ty Smith and Luke Hughes and all that coming in, and they're going to be fantastic. So, this is no longer PK Subban's prime time in the spotlight in the NHL anymore, but we are talking about him today because at the end of the day, he still does have a $9 million cap hit. He still is a very, let's just say, important player in the hockey world. The guy has a lot of pizzazz. He's got a lot of star power to his name. He's got a podcast. Very good listen right there. But we had ourselves an update here on Boston Hockey Now. This is on the Hockey Now series of websites where they have NHL insiders collaborating and talking to the writers here, wherein they end up publishing pieces talking about what has been said. Take a look at this recent piece over here. It was published yesterday, no, 2 days ago, on September 5th. Kotkaniemi offer sheet reaction, as well as Subban NHL trade rumors, published by Jimmy Murphy a few days ago. Let's scroll down past the Kotkaniemi stuff, because we don't really care about that anymore now, don't we? Because we've already made so many videos about that topic. So instead, we're scrolling all the way down and highlighting what this article says about PK Subban, right-handed defenseman for the New Jersey Devils, who is 32 years old, and he's got 1 year left at $9 million. If we said to you, right after this classic moment in the Boston Bruins-Montreal Canadiens rivalry, that then Canadiens defenseman and then reigning Norris Trophy winner PK Subban would be plucked off the NHL trade market by the Bruins someday, you would probably have thought we were looking for cannabis dispensaries that didn't exist back then. They're referring to Subban's breakaway goal in Game 3 of the second round of the Bruins vs. Habs series in 2014. Legendary moment, every Habs fan knows it, but, I mean, this is not really a Habs video now, isn't it? This is a Jersey Devils video, pretty much. The article talks about how multiple NHL sources have confirmed to Boston Hockey Now that the Boston Bruins have, on more than one occasion, explored what it would take to acquire PK Subban, and at the same time, convinced the Devils to eat at least half of the $9 million cap hit he carries into the final season of his current contract. The Maple Leafs have also expressed more than lukewarm interest in the 2013 Norris Trophy winner. So that's our rumor right here. PK Subban, according to Boston Hockey Now, is on the radar for not only the Boston Bruins, who are a hockey team that have had a pretty storied history with PK and his time with the Montreal Canadiens, but the Maple Leafs too. And when I just think about that idea right here, PK Subban, okay, what do I think about PK? And when I think about PK, I think, obviously, Montreal. I think about the donations he made to the hospital. I think about the Norris Trophy. I think about the pizzazz, the Carey Price celebration. I think about just how good of a hockey player he was. 38 points in 42 games played was a phenomenal season, which is why he won the Norris Trophy back then. And might I remind you, he was only like, 24 years old, something like that? PK Subban was an absolute monster. You could tell he loved wearing that Habs sweater. Habs fans loved him as well. However, the media, the management, it was kind of weird with PK Subban. We all kind of know what the story goes, or at least a vague timeline of the story. Bergevin says we're not going to trade him, and then they trade him, and then Canadian Jock came out with that fantastic video discussing the conspiracy theories about that. Canadian Jock, man, please come back. Fantastic YouTuber right there. But PK Subban has had a pretty good career outside of Montreal, too. In Nashville, he was a fantastic #1 defender. Sure, he was getting paid a boatload of money, but he went out there, led that team to the Stanley Cup Finals. They didn't win, but he was still a part of that fantastic top four with Mattias Ekholm, with Ryan Ellis, and with Roman Josi. But ever since getting traded over to the New Jersey Devils, it has been a little bit more disappointing than expected for Subban, as he really declined in production. He did kind of get a step up, though, this previous season. 19 points, 44 games was a much better set of numbers than 18 points in 68 games, which is what he accomplished in 2019-20. And with the uprising of the Devils, he can go out there and say, hey, maybe there's an opportunity here for PK Subban to go out there and actually take control of what it is he has right now, because he's got one more year left. As we noted, $9 million. You can't beat that point into the ground hard enough. It's a boatload of money. But if there are teams going out there, like Boston, like Toronto, two teams that are pretty good NHL teams, I would say, and saying, hey, right defense, we could use a guy like PK. If you eat half of that salary over there in New Jersey, we'll take on PK Subban. We'll play him on, I don't know, our second power play unit, and we'll try to go out there and use the mojo that this guy has to help us win a few playoff rounds. How about it? It's just so crazy to me to think about those ideas for the Leafs and the Bruins because, I mean, come on, it's PK Subban. Whenever I think about this guy, my mind's eye version of him still has a Habs jersey on, and he's kind of been embedded in that culture, that sweater just in my head over here. So thinking about him playing for the Bruins one day, yeah, that's weird. Thinking about him playing for the Leafs one day, yeah, that's pretty weird too. I guess if the Maple Leafs are indeed in that last dance situation like Travis Yost wrote about in TSN, hey, screw that. They're not in the last dance situation like Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s when they're trying to win like their 6th championship in 7 years. Nah, the Leafs aren't in the last dance situation. They're in the last chance situation because they might lose out on Morgan Riley after this offseason, and Jack Campbell might not be sticking around either. So, hey, if you're going to go out there, desperation mode to 100% right here, maybe it's like, okay, $4.5 million, PK Subban, let's try it. Why not have him on a second power play or whatever? Maybe even get a third team involved. Pull off some David Savard, Detroit, Tampa Bay madness over there, where a third team with a boatload of salary to spare goes out there and is like, hey, we'll get involved in this trade process too. We'll retain even more of the salary that PK Subban would hold. Just give us a second or something. Maybe Detroit does that. I don't know. It would be really interesting to see PK Subban suit up for the Maple Leafs because, I mean, it's his hometown team, right? He's from Ontario. He's had those roots, and I know he played for Montreal, but still, you can't tell me that's a story we haven't seen too much before. It'd actually be really interesting to see if PK Subban would head over to Toronto because, like, I saw a lot of Maple Leafs fans memeing about this on social media too. If PK Subban goes to Boston, you know that once Toronto and Boston meet in the playoffs, PK Subban is going to score a Game 7 overtime winning goal shorthanded or something because of course it's going to happen. So for the Maple Leafs, the best way to prevent this would be to get Subban themselves, which would be ultimately reversing that curse that they seem to have bestowed onto their hockey team over there. But at the end of the day, though, the Maple Leafs decor is indeed, like, probably the most stable part about the entire team, as noted by the Steve Dangle podcast crew as well. This decor is already pretty alright, so if you really, really think that a Subban is necessary, then I guess go for it, but in my opinion, would it be the first thing I'd try to target? Probably not. I'd probably want to get some more players to play in the top 6 over there. Sure, Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, great, but is Nick Ritchie a lock for your top 6? And if so, how? Like, do you not have any other players that you could be targeting that could be top 6 forwards? I go after those guys instead of PK Subban, but I mean, whatever. Their decor's already good enough in my opinion. For Boston, I mean, they had themselves a pretty interesting fallout the past few years. Chara, Krug, all the stuff going on with that team. They had Carlo getting better minutes, McAvoy, all that stuff. They still made the playoffs, and guess what? They still made the second round because Boston is Boston. Maybe a PK Subban is what they need to really get over that hump, especially if he trajects upwards from what he did last season. If you assume that PK Subban is going to be playing in a contract year, and the last year he's making $9 million, he's probably going to want to go out there, play his heart out, play the best hockey he can possibly play, so he can get even a shade of a good contract for next season. I mean, come on, he's 32 years old, yes, I get that, he's not the youngest guy in the world, but it's not like PK Subban's going to be out of the league anytime soon, right? He wasn't that bad these previous few years, so he's going to want to try to get himself a resume that says, okay, it's okay if you give me 4, 5, maybe $6 million because I can play to that standard. I can get, I don't know, 40, 50 points in a season again. Who knows if that's possible, but I'm not really too sure. If it's Toronto, if it's Boston, they give him a different scenario to do that. New Jersey, I would assume New Jersey to being a worse team than Toronto or Boston in the next season, so if it's a PK Subban going out there because he does have no form of trade protection at all, I would think it's a pretty interesting situation over there. It is kind of strange because Montreal, but, I mean, weirder things have happened, haven't they? So, talk to me in the comments what do you think about Subban heading over to the Bruins or the Leafs, because apparently those are the two teams that have asked around for him. I'll leave a link in the description to the Boston Hockey Now article for those of you who want to go out there and read the piece yourself. But talk to me in the comments what do you think about Subban. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.